jioni ya leo.
Tea good? You know I'm from Western, so when we say, how was the tea, it's a very serious question. Yeah? Please, I'd like to ask, for purposes of the panel, please just come slightly forward, because we are going to be a small group, so that we beseech you to come forward, because we want to have an interactive session with the panelists. I welcome you to track C. I welcome you to track C. And I'd kindly like to ask the panelists, Kelly Odwar, Medical Training College, Caroline Wamangati, Wangamati. How can I even say that name wrong? Wangamati, you know, your daughter is my daughter's classmate, so I hear this name a lot in the house. Yes. Then Thomas Obunde, Rotary Club of Kenya, Mr. Gilchrist Locoel, Turkana County, he's come a very long way, and Jen Wairimu, please come. And then our moderator is Patrick Koske. Please, all of you come up, so that we can start the session. And thank you so much for accepting to be part of this panel. We really appreciate. And it's nice to see our First Lady getting engaged in such issues, isn't it? Yeah, it's very great. Really great, actually. So, those who are outside, if you're coming for type C, I'm coming for you for track C, I'm coming for you right now. And thank you so much for those who have obliged me and moved forward. Thank you for being good students. Karibuni sana. Track C, we're about to start. If you're coming in for track C, please come in and try and sit at the front, just for a change, backbenchers. You need backbenchers, but I'm one of you, so I understand. Kujeni, track C people, please enter the room. Thank you. We are just starting in a minute. Track C people, please enter the room. If you're coming for track C, and you're still having your tea, please just carry your tea and enter the room. Carry your tea and enter the room. We're just about to start and we have a very distinguished panel. Karibuni. Please, I can see you guys who are having tea. I can see you, I'm standing here. Naona tu. Please just pick your tea and enter the room. Hotel, please close tea service so that we can now get into the plenaries. Karibuni sana.
Good morning, team. How was the tea? Okay. I think she said when she asks how was the tea for her, she means something else. But since I don't come from where she comes from, mine would be different. So today we are privileged to have a team that is from various sectors that we will share with in terms of this discussion of the lessons that we are learning or we've learned from advocacy beyond bread and soda to a sustainable donor retention framework. And I think when we started on Tuesday, there was a story about how bread and soda made some changes in terms of people donating blood. And I think today this session is going to help us to see what we have been able to achieve in the various sectors and the approaches that were used. We are lucky that we have also a team that is joining virtually. I think we also welcome them. One of our presenters is not with us here, but is going to do his presentation virtually. So I think this session is a continuation of what we have just had in the morning session. A lot has been discussed about mobilization towards these services that we have had a chance to discuss throughout this week. So I will ask Mr. Thomas Obunde, who is going to be our first presenter. He's doing his presentation, he's joining us virtually, that he can be able to begin so that we can be able to save on time and have time to ask the questions. So Thomas, our IT team, please. I don't know if you can hear me.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Okay, thank you, Thomas. So first, please do a brief introduction. Let's get to know more about you. And then from there, you please take it up. Thank you.
Yes, thank you very much. I'm assuming I'll just be doing this for 20 minutes. Please correct me if I'm wrong. And then I can...
Yeah, you can do it for 20 minutes is good.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. My name's Thomas Obunde, and I am the president incoming for Rotary Club of Ongatongai East, but I also am the national leader for the blood drive for Rotary countrywide for District 9212. And on behalf of my district governor, Alex Nyaga, and my DGE, Azeb, I'm here representing the Rotary family in regards to this discussion today concerning sustainable partnership in collective groups on blood and organ donation. The outcomes I'd like to achieve is based on already what we are talking about, donor recruitment and retention. We want to be able to see donor management, care, and also identifying and recruiting and retention of pool of regular blood donors. So let me start off with a small abstract here. Despite the growing disparity between blood or organ supply demand in Kenya, few initiatives have attempted to close the gap. And these gaps through failure to do this through population-based public health endeavors. The growing disparity between blood supply and demand in Kenya is a major public health crisis. We have more patients waiting for blood donation or even organ transplants than donors that are willing to give blood or even donate. The supply of available donors failed to meet the demand for several reasons. Specifically, the reasons are, as much as there's donations happening, the demand of this is even doubling at the same rate. Take, for example, during the COVID pandemic, we may have had more individuals who died while waiting, while trying to improve donation rates in potential areas that could have saved lives. I am a donor, I'm a kidney donor, and I can tell you that at the time of actually donating my kidney, for my family, it was World War I. They were not understanding how one healthy person could try and give an organ to another who's literally dying. My brother was on dialysis 3 or 4 times a week, needing to either have dialysis or have blood transfusion. And this became a financial challenge to the family, to the point where by the time I made a decision and said, we're doing this, it was no longer a request to the family. It was almost, this is what will happen. Let's wait for the outcome. So there will need to be a discussion on how we can improve donor sustainability by doing several things that I'm going to look at here. The other reason that we have an issue is few hospitals have made or have undertaken the challenge of systematically maximizing organ or donor supply in public health as a priority. I live in Rongai, in Kajiado County. Today, if I ask someone in this locality, where can you be able to go within this region, this district, to either receive blood, I can assure you 99.9% would have no clue on where to go. Because of this, we need to do several measures. First, we need to put a task force, in my view, in place to weigh in the considerations for an intensive countrywide public education campaign to create broad public support for blood donation or even organ donation. Previous lessons that we've learned tell us or show us that lack of referrals or awarenesses for both blood and other organs, including consent that we've talked about, have attributed to the lack of sensitivity in people actually wanting to even give blood. People ask very simple questions. Do I qualify? My weight is this and this. Where do I go and donate blood? Those kind of like stop the processes of actually recruitment of these kinds of persons being able to allow themselves to give blood. To meet these challenges, we recommend also improving systematic identifications of donors and doing this by hospitals. If a patient is in hospital, this morning and even yesterday, I received a request for a donor who's currently critically ill in an ICU hospital ward. Whilst the patient is critically ill, why don't we help families like this understand the need to be able to be donors, both blood donors and also other organ donors? Ultimately, the task force can settle on a relatively inexpensive countrywide based intervention that focuses on reaching families during these critical decision moments that their loved ones are even not well. They're seeking to receive the donations themselves. These initiatives should focus on key principles. First, I think there is the need to improve the interaction between communities and hospitals during these critical windows of opportunity. We need to be able to clearly capitalize on the convening and oversight of the power of the likes of maybe MOH, Kenya National Blood and Transfusion Services, and be able to allow this to be decentralized into the communities and public health facilities. The second initiative, I think, is uniquely or rely uniquely on leadership of the partnership organization or the partner organization. This has been done purely between St. John's, Rotary, Red Cross, Kenya National Blood Transfusion, and we failed to maximize the likes of community drives, corporate days for institutions to give blood, the Rotary itself, and many others that could be initiatives that can help bring long-term recruitment for blood. For example, I would suggest that we have a calendar where all these partners are brought on board. Corporates are given days and say, we'll have corporate blood donation drive weeks and make it a whole month. We'll go to churches and say, we'll have blood donation drives for the month of February for churches. We'll have blood donation drives for the month of March for communities, and we'll identify places that these can actually make it easier for for people to actually go and donate blood. But not only that, whilst doing that, to recruit and retain these blood givers, create an app that allows them to know that I gave blood in January. I'm a female. In the next 3 months, I cannot give blood. I can give blood maybe in April. And an app that reminds them that now they are eligible for giving blood again, reminds them they can actually go and do so. So there can be multiple givers in a year. The male can actually do that. Every 4 months, they can actually do that. This allows us to be able to allow these particular donors not only know they've given blood this year, but how often they can give blood within the same year. This way, we're retaining them and allowing them to be able to give blood. Enlisting support from hospital chief executives. This is an area that we actually need to improve. Currently, communities don't know, even in an hospital that's a referral hospital like Kajiado Hospital here, Saitoti Hospital here in Rongai, we've been trying to ask ourselves, can we mobilize Rotarians and communities to give blood in a place like Saitoti Hospital? Do they have a blood bank that whilst blood is given, it can be tested, it can be made sure it's okay, and it can be retained for usage in that specific hospital within this locality, and people mobilized towards going there? Anything that has to do with blood has to do with mobilization. At the end of the day, whether we use the media, we use with the social aspects of doing it, we use promotions, it doesn't matter how much drive we do on those, unless people take their feet to the place of blood donation, it will be a good venture that never yielded result. So the question is, how do we go to each home and create awareness to such a point where we can actually have 18-year-olds and above who have their own concept that can go into any place where we place satellites for giving blood and they actually donate blood with awareness of why they're doing that to save lives. Let me focus a little bit also on identifying the target root causes. All hospitals can be obligated to notify their staff of impending need for blood and the rates of how much blood is lacking within their blood bank. I am familiar or aware that our president or our current president and also our Rotary district governor had a conversation of a potential way of asking the Rotary family to actually consider having a Rotary plan countrywide, bringing all our members together, over 1,000 of them, and asking them give blood regularly. Is there a possibility that the red tapes regarding that kind of arrangement can be narrowed so that the possibilities of this can actually happen, so that we can actually have giving blood as a project we do yearly? We have other projects that we focus on as Rotarians. Could we also add the blood bank as our project? And we know we can go to specific places as Rotarians and give blood. And we are very serious when we take any ventures that we actually carry out in regards to projects. This can be one which we not only do as Rotarians, we can do with our colleagues, we can do with our families, we can do with our communities, and be able to enhance the giving of blood in regards to this. Building relationship among major partners would be very key. Not only when we have the blood bank day, which is normally 14th of June, but making partners a regular part of our conversations on a very regular basis. Identifying key stakeholders and making them key partners throughout the year, having regular meetings with them, engaging them in regular ways to be able to grow this initiative that's very key in regards to blood giving. Improving outcomes and sustaining the initiative. Donation initiative is first a very key countrywide effort that needs to be undertaken. And this must be, as I said, undertaken using unique partnerships, using major teaching hospitals, and also using public health hospitals through this initiative. This will require a minimum of additional works being done virtually with no additional financial resource or cost needed for this. For example, what cost is needed when people actually have agreed to give blood other than take themselves there to give blood? But the awareness has to be at the level of, I've come to the hospital. One of the first questions I should be asked, when was the last time you gave blood? If I'm actually seeking blood. And then be helped to understand the importance of actually being part of adding into saving lives and giving blood. Focusing on unique contribution ways by collecting data and asking the questions, why is it that people are actually very, very reluctant to give blood? And being able to help answer those questions would ease the restrictions that come about when people do not want to go bring blood. I was having a discussion with some of my Rotarian friends. One morning they had actually drunk some little alcohol, and in the process they also wanted to give blood. And so in this, where the blood donation drive was taking place, the discussion was, is my blood good to save life right now? Because I have taken 1 or 2 bottles. Is my blood okay to be able to save a life? And there was a joke around that. Maybe the life will be saved faster with what you have taken. The person will receive very fast energizer and they'll become alive. But that sensitivity to be able to understand questions being asked that are genuine towards a person like this who'd like to give blood, if they're not comfortable at that point, can they be told when then they can come back and do the same exercise? When they will also be comfortable that their blood is not polluted, so to speak, in regards to giving blood. Can I request National Blood Transfusion Services to convene 2 high-level meetings, at least every year, to review the overall status of the initiatives, share the aggregate and individual hospital data, what the donation rates look like from the hospitals, and then collaborate with the other blood organs or blood donor banks to see what shortage we have on a regular basis. Giving this information out creates the awareness of our shortfall. Currently, we know that we have a huge shortfall, that if we don't do something about it, December, where the rates normally are very high in terms of accidents and other needs for blood transfusion, would have problems being able to meet the demand. One of the personal level I'd like to bring here before I conclude is, what can we do to let people know that blood giving and blood recipients should not feel the burden of either giving or receiving blood. I do not work for Kenya National Blood Transfusion Services, but when you look at my messages currently and the need of forwarded message from Rotarians, can you help with this blood donation? Can you help with this blood donation? Then I have to forward that to the Kenya National Blood Transfusion Services officers. Can you help with this blood transfusion? Can you help with this blood transfusion? Is overwhelmingly taking a toll on many, many families. What can we do to create an awareness? If someone needs blood, where do they look? Where do they go? So that they can also be encouraged to be donors as much as they are recipients. Lastly, sustainability. We should be donor giving in regards to blood and also other donor organ donations. Initiatives that actually uniquely focus a lot on a country-wide research that can make this sustainable and translate the lessons that we have learned into saving lives. I would appeal that would pick in every community leaders that would spearhead this on behalf of Kenya National Blood Transfusion and be very, very specific from the 47 counties down to the ground, that this actually is an initiative that every Kenyan who is healthy can be able to donate blood at any time during the blood drives, at any time of their lives, at any time of their day-to-day living. Thank you very much. Let me take any questions that you may have in regards to how we can identify, how we can be able to build relationships, and how we can be able to sustain blood donation banks towards these initiatives, and even donor organ donations into these initiatives. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I think that was very insightful. And I think as you were speaking, I noted that sometimes part of our gaps is maybe preaching to the already converted. You find people who are already donors, who are already in this plan, are the ones who we are reaching to more than those ones that we need to maybe convince. But there is something you mentioned about maybe visibility and us having to have centers that everyone knows. If I need to donate blood, I can maybe visit this site at whatever time. And I think that is a very critical aspect as we talk about this. I also want to commend you for the fact that you have already joined this group and you have been a donor. Part of the discussions we've had is that much as we are talking about blood transfusion, the KNBTS is now taking up all organs, basically, if I may put it that way. And the fact that you've been able to donate a kidney to one of your colleagues, your relatives, I think is a very commendable step. And even as we sit here, one of the questions we've asked from Tuesday when we started was, how many of us have ever donated blood? I think this should be a wake-up call, that as we've listened to those who are recipients of various units of blood and those that have been donors, that it also touches us, and as we live here, we become advocates and we become part of the team that is going to do this. Just maybe one clarification or just something that maybe Thomas would guide us is that what are the ways that you feel we can be able to reach out better to other people so that we can be able to increase this group of donors? Because you mentioned something that I think is critical on us having to recruit and retain donors amongst us. Are there specific maybe recommendations that you would make on the same that we can be able to take up? As you answer that, I would request our next speaker, who is First Lady, Bungoma County, Ms. Caroline Wangamati, to be ready so that she can come forward. We will take questions from the audience after this presentation. So Thomas, please shine your light on that so that we can welcome our next speaker.
Yes, one of the ones we can use for retaining donors, those who have given blood for the first time, I mentioned, was try and create a data way of communicating to them. They gave blood in July. Maybe they cannot give blood for the next 3 months. To retain the ones we have, create a reminder for them on how they can be able to give again within the same year after the period elapses that they've already given blood. Ask them if they can become a campaigner of recruiting others. One, bring one. Tell them to, the next time they're coming to donate blood, to have talked to a friend or two, and also bring them alongside and tell them if they want to just see the process, they can come and see the process of this gentleman or the lady donating. Then they can also become comfortable with the idea of actually becoming donors. If you've given blood once and you know it's gonna save lives, and you bring someone else and they give blood, now you're 2, then they are 4, and then they are 8, and then they are 16. Multiplying effect of everyone bringing another can grow the numbers of those giving blood. But there must be a systematic approach to encourage those already giving to retain those so that we can recruit others as referrals from those already giving blood, as we also do other exercises in trying to bring others on board. In the past, we've used a lot of schools to do this. We are now going into most likely universities where we don't need a lot of consent from parents to do this. But can we actually be a little bit proactive in the aspect of, if I can say, marketing donors into blood giving? This would be, I think, an approach that we should be able to take that's easy to be able to follow through.
Thank you very much, Thomas. I think we are also getting insights, and we had a discussion earlier about the students donating blood, and I feel this is also another way that we have missed a point, because they donate when they're in high school, then after that, it ends there. And I think it should have been a culture that we built. Give us insights on lessons learned from advocacy and campaigns for donors.
Thank you, Director. A good morning to all of you, and a good morning to my fellow panelists. It's very cold in this place, but I said because you might want to take a photo of me, let me try and look red. So I had to bear the cold and remove my jacket. I'm Caroline Wangamati. I'm the wife to Governor Wangamati, who is seeking re-election. So if you're from Bungoma County, I request you to do the needful on 9th of August. But today we are discussing honorary Rotarian, so that we're Rotarians on this panel, which I think makes it very special. So let's talk about blood. My husband was a private sector gentleman, an MD of a company. Then he runs for election to the shock of all of us, starting with his wife, and he wins. So then I'm thinking, what do first ladies do? And I think there's lots of money, there's a budget, and I have all this big vision and dreams of what I'm going to do. And I go to the office and I realize that, yes, it is an executive office, but it doesn't have a budget. So I told to causes that we believe in. So the second day in office, we walk to the Red Cross office, and we tell them we don't have money, but we have a strong voice. We have an office that has a voice. What can we do to help Bungoma County? And they told us, Ma'am, the biggest problem that we have is we don't have enough blood. And we said, here we are, we can help you. So what did we start doing? We started helping them in the recruitment bit, because we can't get involved in the clinical side of collecting blood, because that's left to the clinicians. So we made it our responsibility to be the ones to write the letters and go to the schools and the institutions to ask for a chance for that institution to donate blood. But in the beautiful journey, we also started learning a lot of things. First, we started by going for blood. Then we started asking the question and looking at the data. Who are the consumers of the blood? And that is when I tell you a story about my county. My county is it's very popular. It's about maybe 2 million people. It is malaria endemic. That means we present a lot with cases data. In 2016, a study that was done in Bungoma revealed that 50% of the mothers who succumbed while giving birth, some mothers before. Then something else came to the fore. And I asked what sickle cell is. And I got to be told it's a blood disorder that's endemic in our county. And you realize that the therapy that is easily available to sickle cell issues, highway. So we have lots of accident cases. And so the trauma cases also require blood. So for a county like ours, having enough blood is no longer an option. It is not something we can debate. It is something that we must fight for. Because for us, blood is life in a very literal sense. So the Office of the First Lady engaged itself. We worked together with the blood satellite. I seconded somebody from my office to join the blood satellite and made a lot of noise. Good noise, received well most of the time, sometimes rubbing the wrong shoulders, but either way, it has worked. So I want to break it down and give you what I think are the lessons that I have picked up, that I share both as an individual and also share as an office. First and foremost is an advocate is only as good as what they know. So one of the things we do as an office is we try to really educate ourselves on matters blood. I'm going to be very considerate here and not drop so many medical terms. Otherwise, some of you might mistakenly think I'm a doctor, and I'm not. I'm just a very ordinary citizen who's just taken a very passionate interest into this story. What we realize is the dependence on the school-going children has the issues of consent and has the issues of you need people that can give the blood regularly. So working together with our satellite, we say that we must go to the adults. And where are the adults? The schools are easy because the kids are in one central place. I have a panelist here who is part of a group called, what do you call yourselves? Pledge 25. I love Pledge 25 because now they can make that decision. So rather than targeting the children in the high schools, we try to go to the tertiary institutions in our county. They're a little bit harder to recruit, but I've always believed clubs, Manchester United and Arsenal. So they always make fun of me because I'm a Liverpool fan, and they say I walk alone. And in most cases, I haven't been donating because I had the challenges that a few people in the room might have. For a long time, I tried to eat as much ugali and chicken as I could, but I never got over the 50 kilogram. So I can't donate blood. I would love to, but every time I try to donate, and I will tell Mr. Wekesa, he's right here, that I'll put stones in my jacket, and when he puts me on the scale, it will read 55, and he'll allow me to donate. But he said, no, First Lady, we're not going to allow cheating here, so you will wait. Second reason that stopped me from donating was HB. I have a very not so good HB, and I think we are working on that. But the point I'm trying to make is that let us go to where the adults are. They're sitting in offices. Why don't we go to Nzoia Sugar Company in Bungoma County and ask the MD to allow us to come to Nzoia Sugar Company and ask for blood? Why don't we go to the bishop? We now got a new bishop, and I told him, Bishop, for the Catholic Church, I would like you to allow us to access your churches so that we can actually schedule blood drives with your churches, because in Bungoma County, the religious community is very strong. The Muslim community, the Asian community have been very good, and they have given us dates when we can actually go and get blood from them. So that has worked, and we just need to be more deliberate and scale it up and schedule these people on a very regular basis. Every 4 months, we go back to the same group, and we are able to get some blood from them. So I always say something, that when we do activities like now we do this conference, we raise a lot of awareness. And on this particular day, maybe we may be able to recruit a brand new, a first-time donor. But I really believe that for it to now work, is we need to go back to that donor and convince them to come and give a donation a second time. And I wish Dr. Nduku was here now, because I was going to tell her that now the onus is on you to go back and convince Caroline, who donated, that you need to come back, Caroline, and give us another pint of blood after 4 months. Yesterday I was in a panel, a COBA panel, and I was asking the question, have we done enough to retain our donors? Somebody donates the first time, and we just expect them to seamlessly come in again and do the donation after 4 months. Takes a little bit of convincing. I had an opportunity to be taken to Rwanda for benchmarking by the Global Blood Fund, and one of the things that I loved about what they do is they actually write a letter to their donors 2 weeks before coming there. And they tell you, Caroline, thank you for the donation that you gave us 4 months ago. We're coming to you again in 2 weeks' time, and we request that you join us for another blood donation exercise. And if you can bring along a friend, we will be very happy. Imagine if today you were reminded 4 months later with such a beautiful message, someone thanking you and requesting you to come again, and even giving you an advance notice of 2 weeks. Wouldn't you think about this? Wouldn't you consider making a donation? I think we can do more. And in the literature review that I've been able to look at, I was studying for a master's and I did a dissertation on blood. You realize that if we can get somebody to donate about 5 times, then it is easier to now make that person a habitual donor, a regular donor. But the first time, second time, third time, fourth time is a little bit tricky and needs a little bit more effort. So for the policymakers and for the implementers of this, you want to know that you will work a little bit harder to get in the first 5 donations from someone, but after that you may be able to now allow them to come in, because it will have become a little bit of a habit for them. The second, or I think it's the third point, is let's embrace technology. We have a machine. Okay, most of you are clinicians here, so you'll understand. I'm a big believer in component collections, the apharetic collections. One is that our CAN BTS must be able to process our blood into components. You optimize the use of that 1 pint when you're able to break it into components. Secondly, for places like Bungoma, where we have a lot of children that are consuming a lot of the blood, it's children and women likely who consume most of the blood in sub-Saharan Africa. It makes sense to use the smaller bags, the pediatric bags, rather than having the big bags, because then you're avoiding any wastage of the blood. So one of the things that I have been trying to get to Bungoma County, and we're discussing with I think it's the Terumo team, in trying to get their machine, is if we can get the blood collected in its components, or at least processed into components. One is that you need fewer donors to be able to achieve your optimal level of blood that you need. Secondly, when you break the blood into its components, for example, we take the fresh frozen plasma. When it's put together in whole blood, we can only keep it for about 35 days. But when now we separate it through a fractionating process, then we're able to keep it for 1 year if we have the freezer for about -22, but we can even go up to 3 years if we have the -40 freezer. So technology allows you to then keep the blood for longer and use it, and avoids the unnecessary discards because the blood has expired. I also think that we need to embrace technology when we start thinking about the therapeutic uses of blood. When you take the sicklers in the room, it is possible to put them through what we call a red blood cell exchange. And to be able to do that, we need to have the components, the red blood cells. And we are able to take out the sickle cells and replace that through a very seamless process that takes about an hour with now the non-sickle cells. So you're able to avoid the different problems, which Leah will know very much about the iron overload in the body that comes with doing so many transfusions to somebody who is a sickler. And maybe in this country, you all know we don't have access to the drugs, the chelation drugs that will allow the iron to be broken down in the body. So at the end of the day, I really think technology will take us in two places. One, make it possible for us to optimize what we collect, but also secondly, advance us in giving care, better care, quality care to those people who use blood as a therapy. I also think what has helped my office to do this very well is we actually speak to the groups that need the blood the most. We work very closely in the maternal space, and I have been in hospital and found mothers who are having an HB of 2, an HB of 4, and they desperately need blood. I go to the pediatric hospital and you find the little babies with sickle cell, with malaria anemia, nutritional anemia, and now I know there is anemia from worm infestation. And it brings it home for you. It brings it home, and you just realize that we must do something to make sure that these children see the light of day and reach the prime age that I have reached. And if all it takes is I to use my loud voice and make noise and ask people to donate blood, so be it. That's something I'm happy to really do. I think I'm on the 5th point. One of the things I love doing, my background is finance, but now I've studied health policy. So anybody who can give me a job, I will be coming to you after the August 9th election. I'm very serious, by the way. But I believe in data. I tell my team that if we found 4,000 regular donors in Bungoma County who are willing to give blood every 4 months, and I had a data system that would allow me to talk to them and, tell them congratulations on Mother's Day or Father's Day, male or female, or be able to tell them, happy birthday, I may just have a sufficient pool to give me enough blood to serve those 2 million people in Bungoma County. So what you find is that when you actually take the data and study it and analyze and do the maths, you'll realize that you just need to have a little bit more targeted effort and recruit a nice pool of people. Of course, some fall off and you still bring in new ones. But when I looked at the data, it was able to tell me that what we are thinking is an insurmountable task is actually not insurmountable. It is very doable. So Bungoma team, you know how much we push on this. And I know this time we did not get an award, but this conference, when it shall be held next year, and God willing, because the people who are here from Bungoma will vote for Mr. Wangamati, we might just be in that conference and receive an award for the most improved satellite or county in terms of the amount of blood that we collect. So data systems like what was launched here in this conference, for me, is just critical, because without it, you can't know what you're doing. You need to be able to know how many rare group donors do you have. And if you realize you have a gap, then you need to reach out. And reaching out to our communities is not difficult. When I mobilize for the medical camps that I do obstetric fistula camps, I do, general, we call them primary care camps. I go to the vernacular radio stations, and you're able to speak to people. So I'm very sure that if we went to the vernacular radio station and said we want people to donate blood, it will actually happen. Then the 6th point, which is my second last point, and this we've done very well in Bungoma County, is to find a way to advocate for the improvement of the blood infrastructure in the county. So after about 4 years of lobbying, the county was able to set aside a budget, and we're actually building a very modern, blood center, which we're trying to speak to KNBTS to make a regional blood center. Because Bungoma County ends up serving surrounding counties. We give blood to the lower parts of Siaya. We give blood to Kakamega County. Busia rely on us entirely, part of Trans Nzoia, and even sections of Uasin Gishu County, and even our neighbors, Uganda, the country, do come to us all the way from Tororo. And I was very pleased with my county, because even the times when we have had gaps, and the national government was not able to deploy the resources, the consumables for the blood drives, the county was able, through a discussion and meetings that we convened, to step in a little bit in the gap and be able to provide, whether it was the blood bags or the refreshments or fueling the car or providing a car to go out and do the blood drives. So I think that kind of collaboration has really made a difference for us. And I have made it my job within the First Ladies Association to try and recruit several other First Ladies to do the job that I do, which is shouting a lot about blood. And I think it is bearing fruit. And let's pray that, the next government that comes in, if most of us will still be there, you will hear a bigger voice from the First Ladies on the agenda of blood. As I finish, I also want to say something that I think I have attended blood conferences in Arusha in Tanzania for AFSBT. I have done in West Africa. It's a very strong point. For an advocate like myself, I think my country is on the right track. When you look at the documents that we were able to launch on Tuesday when the conference began, I'm particularly proud of the standards, the guidelines that we've now put in place. I'm very happy that we now have an intergovernmental framework, because blood is one of the sections of health that was never devolved. It entirely sits at national government, but the patients that are dying are in my hospital in Bungoma County. So at the end of the day, we are not going to avoid the conversation of blood, because even if the counties say they're going to be indifferent to the story of blood, you can't be indifferent when it is your children that are dying, when it is your mothers that are dying, when the disease that requires blood is sitting within 20%, 30% of the population. So as a Kenyan, and I'm very patriotic about this, I'm very, very proud of what we did here, and I hope that the documents that we put in place are going to help us put in place a foundation that we build on, and we make sure that the story of blood gets out. The organizers of this conference, make sure you speak to the media houses to put out the message of this conference. I tell people blood is not, a catchy subject that is so fashionable, that people are discussing every day. But it is a subject we must discuss, because every one of us needs blood. Every one of us depends on blood. If you don't have blood in your body today, even the oxygen that you need will not circulate in your body. So I want to thank the KNBTS, the Kenyan government, because putting together this conference was just an amazing idea. And if we keep having these discussions, I believe as Kenya, we shall be going in the right direction. So I want to quote the first speaker, not quote him. I want to echo a thought that he put, and that was Professor Rogo when he spoke on day one. He said something that I really believe in, that we don't have a shortage of blood. The blood is right within all of you that are sitting here. And we just need to make a greater effort to extract that blood from David sitting on this side and give it to Sylvia sitting on that side. So the onus is on all of us. It is the advocates, it is the clinicians, it is the policy makers to find a way. And one of the ideas that I was giving in a forum I was in yesterday is we should have started off on Tuesday by having a very big announcement that as you're sitting here for 3 days in this conference, there is a blood donation exercise going on. So those of you who are due for donation, please use the 3 days to go and give a pint of blood. Let's be shameless about shouting about blood. Let's not be afraid to talk about it, because blood is life. Blood is an essential medicine. And as First Lady of Bungoma County, and speaking for the County First Ladies Association, I can tell you that you never have to ask us twice to speak about blood, because blood is us. We live because of blood. Our people live because of blood, and we are always happy anytime to advocate for this. Thank you so much, and God bless you all.
Wow, I think that is really powerful, and I've seen all of us paying a lot of attention to that. And an advocate is as good as what they know. I think that's a very good point that you've put, so that even as we are here, going to be advocates, let's understand the information. The same thing came out also from our first presenter, Thomas. I think he mentioned the same, that you can only talk about something that you know. And I'm seeing people here who are already becoming medics because of the knowledge that they have. I want to welcome our next presenter. I'm seeing time is not on our side. Mr. Gilchrist from Turkana, please come forward.
Thank you very much, Daktari. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, panelists. My name is Gilchrist Locoel. I work as the County Director of Health for Turkana. And this morning I'm wearing two hats based on the presentation that I shall provide. I'm wearing the hat of medical personnel, and there is a football fan club called Manchester United Fan Club in Turkana that I am a patron of. So today I'm going to offer a presentation on how we can use sports to mobilize on issues of blood and create a sustainability. So I would like to ask the ICT people to project my presentation. So as they do that, and I know time is not on our side, I pray that I should be able to match the energy and the zeal that Her Excellency Madam Wangamati has exuded, because that was very powerful, and I've actually learned and taken a lot of notes on what is happening in Bungoma. But when it comes to the story about Turkana and the use of sports to recruit or to advocate for more blood in Turkana County, I'm going first of all to share with you one fact. Blood is a drug. We see blood as a component, but I perceive blood as a drug. Unfortunately, the drug we are talking about cannot be accessed from any medical outlet. Like Kenya Medical Supply Agency, they don't stock blood. Like meds, they don't stock blood. You go to your nearby pharmacy, there is no blood. Blood is actually found, as Madam Wangamati quoted Professor Rogo, it's found in every one of us. And if you can be able to do everything possible to break the overused and overkill that we have imposed on our school children, then I think we shall be home and dry. So as Turkana County, blood transfusion we accepted is an indispensable component of our health care. In fact, we were glad enough in 2012, we were honored by the national government through collaboration with the county government and partners, specifically Malin, which transitioned to Save the Children, to have a satellite blood transfusion center in Lodwar. Before that, we used to go all the way 400 kilometers to Eldoret to access blood. The catchment population of Turkana later, as ICT team, blood saves millions. Blood saves millions of lives every year in this country. But just like the other speakers, I want also to reiterate that in a country like Kenya, 70% of entire population that comes to donate blood, they are first-time blood donors. And as the previous speakers mentioned, if we do not take that opportunity and recruit them into the value addition chain and be able to keep and motivate them, then we shall always be having a problem with the issue of adequacy of blood. Because with time, the need for blood is increasing. But the availability of that blood is actually an issue. And that availability, in certain instances, it's also into its adequacy and also safety. So with that, I want to reiterate that Turkana as a county needs an average of like 400 pints of blood. Out of these 400 pints, the amount that we usually get is about 128 to 200, which is literally sitting at half of our needs. Kenya as a country requires 1 million, but consistently, we normally get 16% of our blood needs. So this huge chiasma, this huge gap, how do we ensure that we move out with speed to ensure that we be able to bridge this gap? Matters were even made worse by the COVID-19 pandemic across the entire country. The 6-month school closure, and that is when we lost a lot of people for the simple reason that they could not be able to access blood. Our dear ones who depend on blood, like what Leah presented earlier today, those are the ones that actually suffered a lot. And we lost a lot of lives as a result of that. Globally, we want also to appreciate the effort of the Global Framework Action that actually encourage that as much as possible, countries like Kenya and counties equivocably should be able to create an environment whereby voluntary, non-remunerable blood donation exercise should be encouraged, as opposed to paid blood donors or family replacement therapies. That is the presentation. Finally, it's taking shape. Next slide. The background of my presentation was taking this, and that is Turkana County. Turkana County is actually 13.5% of the landmass of Kenya. And for your information, the former Rift Valley, it constituted 42%. You can see on the western side, it borders Uganda. Northwestern side, it borders South Sudan. On the northern side, it borders Ethiopia. And then in our county, we say on the southern side, it borders Kenya. But we realize we are also right inside Kenya. The population that we are talking about that requires these 400 pints of blood is a whooping 1.2 million people. And as I said, we are only able to get close to 120 to a maximum of 200 pints of blood. That is actually heavily dependent on school children. Next. So I was actually on the last bulletin whereby I was saying that the COVID-19 pandemic, closing of schools, and lack of a blood donation culture. That word, lack of blood donation culture, has been overused in my view. Because what I realize is people in rural areas hardly have information about blood donation. They believe that issues of blood donation is an affair of people who live in towns. But if you reach them with information, they should be able to understand the importance of blood donation, and the fear, inherent fear in them, will actually drop. Next slide. So I have already talked about the satellite blood transfusion center located within Lodwar town, serving a population of 1.2 million people. The screening up to date is still done in Eldoret, and if there is anybody from the national government who is here, that is really disenfranchising that populace. Because we can recruit for blood, but all the samples must be taken to Eldoret with a turnaround time of between 24 to 48 hours. But you and I know that blood is an emergency in most situations. And I think and I confirm from my medical background what Her Excellency Madam Wangamati mentioned. In Kenya, more than 60% of our blood needs, they actually go to the pediatric population and to the obstetric population. That is the mothers who are delivering. So if at all you are getting a turnaround time of 48 hours, that in itself you will end up losing those patients. So what are the emerging issues? Turkana County, we have 7 sub-counties. We created deliberately an improved surgical space. So the 4 operating theaters that were created, believe you me, they need blood. And therefore, the urgency and the acuteness of the need was ramified by that. Then the surgical camps that we started conducting in order to bridge the primary health gap, all of them, they required blood supplies. And then there is a steady but yet consistent population growth. Turkana is hosting 200,000 refugees based in Kakuma. And then 2007 post-election violence had an influx of IDPs that came and settled in Turkana. And also the issue of the black gold, that is oil exploration in Turkana. There was a huge influx of people who are coming to seek for a better life in Turkana. So those kind of scenarios ensured that the need and urgency of blood was increased. Road infrastructure. If you want a very good road trip, take a trip way past Turkana to a place called Lokichogio. The road is very good, But it came with its share of challenges. And the challenge is road traffic accidents increased. So trauma-related incidences were reported and they required blood. And then the ever media-reported conflict between neighboring communities, it made sure that we required blood to cater for that. Next slide. So essentially, in terms of the medical aspect of processing and availability, the county collects, stores, and sends samples of blood to the Regional Blood Transfusion Center in Eldoret. And then the good thing is the county government procured machines for apheresis, what High Excellency Madam Wangamati talked about. You take a whole blood and then you fractionate it into several components. For example, packed red blood cells, platelets, fresh frozen plasma. So the machines are there and the reagents are what we are waiting for in order to operationalize that. So it means the county government was actually moving in tandem with the national policies and KNBTS mantra of ensuring that we provide what the patient needs at that point in time. Like, for example, layer, so that we avoid issues like iron overload. We also invested in staff, and I'm glad enough they are here. You can raise your hands. Edward is in charge of blood transfusion. Alice is the county boss for issues of laboratory, and Kapengi is the coordinator for blood in the entire county. So those staff were trained and they are dedicated for issues of blood, so that you don't keep on moving human resource or healthcare workers from the lab to the blood transfusion sites. So we dedicated them for that function, and it's yielding a lot of fruits. And more of them are going also to be added because of the increased need that we are experiencing. So the donor facility recruitment program is in place, whereby we have identified various groups. And it is facility-based because we use the main platform, which is the referral hospital, to reach to this donor population, with an aim of increasing the donor base. And that is why the theme is moving away from the bread and soda. The screened blood is stored in fridges in Lodwar, and others are dispersed to the 7 sub-counties that I talked about. We invested also in blood fridges to ensure that you don't need to take a patient from, say, a distant area to the referral hospital for the purposes of blood. So we decided to do what we call reverse referral. Take blood to the sub-county health facilities so that they can be able to use for patients. Financial support was mainly through the county government of Turkana. Next. Now, how do we use sports for blood recruitment drives? Because this is the mantra of this presentation. Various sports occur in Turkana. Athletics. You can see most of us are tall, lithe. I'm not talking about myself. Most of us in Turkana County. And so athletic-wise, we can give our colleagues in Uasin Gishu 10 a run for their money. Volleyball is also a good sport, but the main one is football. And I want to tell you something about this football. The fanaticism for football is so huge across most of the people in Turkana and equivocably Kenya. So people have organized themselves into teams or fans of those teams. Manchester United has its structures that it's all the way up to the national level. Arsenal, the same. Liverpool, where the first lady comes from, the same. Although Liverpool and Man City, they have very few fans. But Arsenal and Manchester, it's huge. But Chelsea also is trying. That is where we tapped, and that is where we hit gold. The 200 pints or so that we talked about, no sooner do schools close than there is a crisis all over the county. We cannot call the RBTS in Eldoret to ask them for blood, because even them, they're just doing, recruitment exercises, and they also depend on schools. So the onus was for us as a county government to diversify and look for these groups. Bungoma went to churches and corporates. Turkana, we saw the low-lying fruits, which was the football clubs. And this was informed by the 2019 KNBS, Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Housing and Population Census, that indicated 83% of all people living in Turkana are below 35 years. Si hawa ni watu barobaro. And most of them, we realized they are so much into sports. So that became the first, using data and using evidence to go to where it is required. So, next slide. No. You've gone back. The next one. Oh. So what happened is when we reached to these football clubs, at any point in sitting, we realized that we could be able to collect between 80 to 120 pints of blood per team. Then you go to Arsenal, the same. After identification, we ensured that we asked them to come to our blood donation center to do those blood donations. And prior to that, there are some media messages that are generated. Voice messages and a lot of hype within the social media and vernacular radio stations. That actually ensured that communication messages and products were generated that created a lot of hype for both people who are donating and those ones who are just escorting others to blood donations. So when Arsenal realized this, Arsenal also came on board. And I want to report that for the last 4 years, this has helped Turkana to surmount the lean period of school closure. And incidentally, we never just made this a one-off thing. Valentine's Day, February 14th, which is a month to celebrate love, Turkana County used that day mainly for blood recruitment drives. So what happens during that day? We say that love is red, blood is red, Manchester United is red, Liverpool United is red. So that kind of a clarion call makes people to come and donate blood. The second clarion call was whereby we told the people during these football sessions that you don't need to be a doctor to save lives. You just need to have a big heart for you to save lives. The third clarion call was a situation whereby we tell people that donate blood and keep the world beating. So these kind of very catchy phrases endeared us to the people and ensured a continuity that we had never witnessed before. So Turkana, in its inherent and outside-the-box thinking, tapped into this world of sports, and we realized that they are so much organized to the point that they are all over the sub-counties. They have sub-branches. And it is those sub-branches also that we are now planning to get into in order to increase further our blood donation exercise. In this picture, you can see our CEC seated in the middle, and I hope she's in the room. Honorable Jane Ajele. Yes, that is our CEC supporting or using sports to advocate for this. On our left is the Speaker of the County Assembly of Turkana, Right Honorable Erastus Lokale. On the far left is our late Sergeant Dr. Kitela. And then the current speaker is on the right of the CEC, and then the chairman of Manchester United is on the extreme right. So this is a sporting session that we use during Valentine to, advocate for blood collection in Turkana. Next slide. So the advantages of this is blood donation recruitment exercises, they are not easy. There's a lot of planning that occurs. There's mobilization, then fueling vehicles to go to the people. But now you get these consistent and reliable, well-motivated individuals coming to the facilities like a reverse referral to donate their blood. And they do that consistently during World Blood Donation Days. They do that consistently during Valentine's Days and during the lean period of April, August, and December. Next. So we have also had partnerships. The NGOs like Imarisha Jamii, AMREF Imarisha Jamii, has done a good job by identifying this and tapping into this to ensure that they are also financing these football teams to come into the blood donation centers, especially the ones that are from far. Others like Kenya Red Cross, they have done an excellent job. Save the Children, Pan-Africa, they are all part and parcel of the people that we celebrate that has made Turkana really shine in terms of blood donation. Private entities like SWAM and Equity, they also contributed immensely. I want to acknowledge these individuals who have also made Turkana to be, in quotes, self-reliant and to think outside the box in terms of blood recruitment. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Daktari. I think we'll have a session to just appreciate all of them nicely so that we are able to save time. Organized groups is coming up again. I think that's the third time. All our previous presenters have talked about that, but we are seeing the differences in how we're able to tap in to the various organizations. So we'll have our final presenter before we take our questions. So karibu sana.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. I chose to join Madam Miss Wangamati in looking beautiful for the cameras, but by luck, the sun has also come out. My name is Jane Wairimu. I come from a group called Pledge 25. We pledge to donate 25 times, at least 25 times, 25th birthday. Is it possible in Kenya? Maybe we are beyond that age, but can we be ambassadors and mobilizers to our young ones? After this, will you be able to tell them about Pledge 25, a group that they can join and commit to donate blood? Is it possible? All right, then I can start my presentation. Start the slide, please. We start with the population of the Kenya. This starts as of January this year. The internet penetration, because my topic is on social media. And my age gap is mainly between 18. I'm advocating for people above 18 years for ease of consent when donating and for ease of giving back the blood donation results. If you are to become a repeat donor, then it is important for you to know your status so that as you continue donating, I don't know whether there's any speaker who's spoken about the blood processing, it has to be burnt to ash. So it's important to let people know of their status. Those who may turn positive for any can be treated or guided or given the care that is necessary. So my concentration is those two, 781,858. Do we have to go to the high schools? Do we have to bother the... I'm more of a teacher, so I sometimes may engage people to know whether we are together. So on my introduction, why social media for advocacy? As of right now, our WhatsApp use is so high that even the person in the deepest place in the village has a smartphone, is it? Even your church has WhatsApp groups for the cells, for the women, for the men. Our workplaces, we have WhatsApp groups, right? A very effective communication method. The other channel that Kenyans use most, and it is what I will give a case study of, is Facebook. But currently, with the rising generation, Generation Z, they are going more to interactive spaces like Instagram, TikTok. These are the people you are seeing with the phones everywhere. Akitengeneza ka video. Chakula ikiwekwa kwa meza, the first thing they want to do is take a picture, right? So we will focus more on the first 5. WhatsApp, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. Next slide, please. So I've put some data here to visualize what it means when you use these platforms. If you're using Facebook in Kenya, as according to Facebook statistics, any ad that is placed there, it has a potential of reaching 17% of population, not the people on Facebook. On Facebook, it's about 9.95 million users. But of the whole population, you reach about 17.9. The people who spoke in the morning, they talked about communication and reaching to people. I'm saying these platforms are giving you a place to communicate, educate, and recruit donors. 17.9 just on Facebook, 16 just on, this is YouTube, and the last one is Instagram, which is coming up very strongly due to the coming generation, which are more into the interactive sector. So if we do not have money or manpower to go around campaigning, we still have platforms where we can reach as many youths who are really addicted to their phones. We still have a platform to communicate and educate them about blood. Next. So in 2020, when COVID was at its highest, Facebook Inc. thought of what they can do to assist with blood donation. It wasn't only Kenya that was affected in terms of blood collection. And blood as it has been mentioned, is a drug that cannot be replaced by any other drug. So Facebook International came up with a way to mobilize donors using the Facebook app. So Kenya was lucky. We were the first African country that was picked actually also for the learning purposes, given our high use of Facebook. Facebook Inc. is recognizing Kenya out of all the other countries in Africa as one country that consumes a lot of information through Facebook. Who are we not to use the platform? So what did they do? They created a button. It's called Blood Donations. If you're on Facebook, open it now or later, search for Facebook Blood Donation. It will give you a button. I wish I had a pointer. When it gives you a button, you see where it's written Blood Donations. On my end, I'm able to see how Kenyans are interacting with the information about blood donation. So like when I screenshotted this last week, it shows that about 30,000 Kenyans on Facebook searched matters to do with blood. That is in a month. So how many can we be able to generate when we put more ads from your group, from KNBTS, from your personal accounts, so that we can raise that interest, 31, to say 100 per month, and convert those to actual donations. So as from that 2020, when we started the campaigns to now, the page has grown to 500,000 followers. The 5.19 is the followers at the Facebook KNBTS. Or in this sense, I'm pledged 25, but I've also been assisting KNBTS with the digital management. So I'm the one who was involved with the plugging of this button. So this is KNBTS's site. We already have 519. If we are looking at 500 units of blood, it means we already have 519 people who are following KNBTS on a daily. We just need to find how to get these individuals to go to a place, or how KNBTS will go to them, and our blood bank has hit the target. It's that easy. As the speaker on Tuesday said, there is no shortage of blood. We just have to find strategies to ensure that the blood flowing out there comes to our banks. For example, this is a post I had made last year when KNBTS got the new vehicles. And within a few minutes, it was able to generate, the figures are a bit small over there, but it generated almost 100,000 interest. So if today we needed blood, using these blood donation buttons, I and other admins of Facebook, the Kenya National Blood Transfusion page, are able to send an emergency request. And everyone who is following, everyone who is within the Kenyan border will get a notification that Kenya National Blood Transfusion requires emergency donations. So this is the power of social media. So next. Here now is for you. I've explained what we are doing on the back end. After this, I challenge you. If you're on Facebook, if you're not, I still challenge you to talk to a person who is on Facebook. I'm sure you know one or two or three or many. Tell them to go and look for that blood donations. You see this side there, where it is written blood donations. That's all they need to search on Facebook. When they find that, for me, for my account, it shows, yes, up there, it shows I'm following. When you click there, it will open for you the nearest blood banks. So now I took the screenshots when I was in Nairobi. So it is giving me Nairobi, giving me Thika level 5. It's giving me Machakos. Even Turukana niliweka, Bungoma is there. If you do it there, it will give you Bungoma, it will give you West Pokot, it will give you Eldoret. Because we've put them as per geotags. If I move from here, I go to Mombasa, and I go to that blood donation page, it will give me the nearest blood banks. So those who said in the morning they don't know where to donate, fuata mtandao. Wherever you will be, whenever the bag gets you to donate blood, go there. Under each, when you click, there's the website for blood donation, the National Blood Bank, which also has contacts, and it has the specific phone number for each of them. So if I click, like now the second one, I clicked the Regional Blood Transfusion Center, Nairobi. It has a map, a pin. Unaona ile mtu anakuambia niangushie pin, nitakupata pahali uko. So you do not have to keep on asking questions. All you need is to go there, get the pin, uifuate itakufikisha kwenye blood bank nearest iko. And this is KNBTS that put them there. So they are correct, and the descriptions are also correct. If a facility is within a hospital, it has described which level, the name of the hospital, and where it is. If it's next to, say, KNH or another provincial hospital, it is written, like now this one is Hospital Road, off Gong Road, National Public Health Laboratories, such that you will be able to find or locate. There's also that book now button. You see, there's also a phone number. That phone number is for the person who is in charge of Nairobi RBTC. So if you need any information, all you need is go to this blood donation or send the person who wants to donate to Facebook, blood donations. They will see the nearest blood banks, and they can tap and call or click that book now, and they'll be directed on when they can donate. If you want to learn more about blood, there will also be those other two screenshots. Then you click on that small arrow going down. If you want to learn about donating blood, then it was during COVID, so that information is still there. Who can donate blood? If you do not know whether you qualify, you click there, you learn, and there are more depending on what you want to learn. Tuko pamoja? So for the love of blood donation, tukitoka hapa, make sure you've told someone about it, make sure you've looked for that blood donation page, make sure you've looked for National Blood Transfusion website, which is tagged here, to learn more. Even on the NBTS, there are contacts for every satellite, there are contacts for every region and head office. Watu hupotea sababu ya kutojua. I hope today you've learned something. Never again say you do not know where to donate, that's why you've not donated, or people are not donating because they do not know. Guide them. Next, please. Now, to the future. I'm a digital person. To the future. We are looking at the population that is outside the school. And for us who are seated here, majority may not connect with how they consume information. So what happens is we end up creating information, dispersing information through channels or in a way that they cannot consume or understand. So generations that we are looking at, millennials, Generation Z, are not people to call for a gathering here. They are people for virtual things. They are people who want to have everything from their beds. We do not have to have Land Cruisers and lorries and all that going to preach to them. All you need is to find where they're interacting on the online platform. So in this case, I've concentrated on Generation Z. We are looking into the future. These are the people that into 25 years, these are the people we should be building into blood donations and converting them into becoming regular donors. In Kenya alone, the population is 1.43. So even if us, our age, tumesha kubali hatutaitoa damu, can we try to get the newer ones to inculcate that giving so that as they grow into it, then even I and Pledge 25 can get as many donating 25 times by their 25th birthday. So how do we get them? One, data shows that 1 out of 3 of this generation is likely to buy from online. So when we place our advocacies, these are not people who may pick flowers on the way. These are not people who may come to halls like we used to go during our time in the university. But they are more likely to interact with you if you bring something they like along the platforms they use. They're also best educated. Sometimes back we were looking at creating materials that have been translated into other languages. This generation, hatuna hiyo shida. Maybe if we have to use the newer languages like Shembeteng. Mnajua hiyo ni nini? Yeah, but at least English and Swahili, it will be easy to create content and communicate to them. They are also more on interactive media. These are people, if we want to do general public mobilization, all I need is to create a Twitter space, create a live. Do you see them following celebrities on their phones? Ako tu kwa nyumba lakini ako concert. Anaona vile kunaendelea. And I thank God for COVID. It made us realize that we can follow church on phone. Sindio? If we can follow church on phone, why can't we educate people about blood donation on those platforms? Why are we not having Zoom meetings with our donors or our mobilizers at our localities? Next. So I've tried to narrow down for a person who is looking at which platforms to use. If you want, for example, to retain donors, try Facebook. It has very good online communities with the fellowship buttons, and they're able to get notifications when you send something. It is less noisy for people who are following you. If you want to do blood donation challenges, and this is where I would challenge you to look at when you're interacting with them. Hawa ni watu wanataka wakidonate damu umpige picha ama mchukue ka video so that they can share with the rest. So if it is a group, whether a church group, whether hizo, hata kama tutaenda to high school, create something fun. The way they are doing with the games, create something fun and make it a challenge. Tumeona challenges ngapi? Githeri man, ugali man. Just make it something that people would want to take pictures and share. That is how they are communicating. It may not make sense to you, but you have to make it make sense to the target group, right? So when you look at them, even involve them. They will give you a lot of ideas. If you have 0 ideas, end at a TikTok. You do not have to have an account, just type TikTok, hashtag blood donation. You'll see what other countries are doing. For example, NHS in UK, they have very nice campaigns that have been going around, 30 seconds to 1 minute, and they have explained the whole process about blood donation in a very funny way, and the person is also showing the whole process. If they don't want to come to the blood bank to learn because they have fear of needles, can we do virtual, the virtual, showing them that this is where you will come, there's a person, they've been pricked, and you see, they're not crying, it is that easy. They've finished, they've gotten their loaf and soda, ataione akiwa kwa nyumba. It is just a way of bringing them together. So what you can do in TikTok, you can do in Instagram, you can do in Facebook. Mobilization, this is broadcasting, you can do on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And personally, I'm looking at going into interactive spaces. Because the generation that is coming, that Generation Z, is more on what you involve them to do. It's not your course. If you do not make it their course, they will not buy it. And you'll only make it their course by making them do something about it. And sometimes that something about it is allowing them to have that video, share it, create the buzz. Digital Humanitarian Philip talked of a session we did online. We collected over 1,000 units at KICC. The first we've ever collected in KNBTS to date, except in Lemia Westgate, in one day. And all we did is make it viral in Twitter. Now we have half a name following on Facebook, KNBTS, without advert, but of course with the help of Facebook Inc. There's potential in social media, there's potential in your WhatsApp group. Hold meetings, form them into groups, communicate to them. As I finish, I would like to say this. Personally, I've donated 6 times. Mainly I suffer like her, mara ni weight. Marani HB. Currently, I have allergies. I've just been diagnosed with colitis. Remember the lady who spoke here on Monday? the recipient. So I don't even know whether I'll ever be able to donate again. But what I can tell you, every one of you is a potential blood donor mobilizer. You may not qualify to donate, but do not rule yourself out that hautaikuwa kama Sanya with 99 times or Aisha with over 70 times. You have a chance to save lives through blood donation by being a mobilizer. Sini kweli? And always remember that every one of us is a potential blood recipient. You just don't know when or whether you'll ever need it. When you put that in mind, and remember there's a person in the hospital hoping a good, kind-hearted person will come forth, then it should push you. And you're unable to donate, remember that you're a potential blood donor mobilizer. Asanteni.
Thank you very much. I think that was another powerful presentation. We are lucky that we got a mix of people from different sectors with different experiences that we could be able to learn from. Just in brief, I'm seeing a few comments. There's somebody who was thanking Thomas for his presentation. Well done, First Lady. That's another comment on our chat session. Good work, Dr. Gilchrist. We were being followed all the way from Turkana. Somebody says love is red, emotions are blue. I don't know. I don't know whether that is to do with Manchester and Chelsea. I don't know. And then someone has just made a comment that we should give a shout out to O Negative Foundation on Twitter. They have always come through for O Negative requests. So the O Negative Foundation on Twitter, we salute you and we ask you that you continue being a part of us in this journey. I'm looking at our timelines. We have less than 5 minutes. So I think we'll just open up for very few questions, burning questions only. We need someone with a microphone, please, very fast. There's one here. Any other comment or question? Okay, so we start, then we come to the other end.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
My name is Margaret. I work at Blood Transfusion Center, Kisi Satellite. Since we reported here, I've seen people say, encourage people to donate blood. During our sessions, what we are supposed to do as advocates of blood donor, we are supposed to talk more of advantages of blood donation so that someone can have an insight as to why he or she is supposed to donate. Like, for example, I don't know whether you knew that when you have excess blood, it is a disease. When everyone hears that when you have excess blood, it's a disease, and there is degeneration of blood cells after 120 days, then all these people, I tell you, they are really encouraged. Another thing, when we are talking to these donors, we have to put an insight to them that when they donate blood, they stand at a chance of eliminating some blood diseases. So we involve our stakeholders who are parents and who are students, who are also our replacement donors, who are the relatives of the patients. Withstanding, we also have to understand that blood donation doesn't involve everyone. It only involves the healthy donors, the healthy ones. So when you tell them that we not only want blood, we also mind about your health, they are ready to listen to you and they willingly come and donate blood. So I'm emphasizing that when you are sitting in these big meetings, as it was said by one of my colleagues here, make sure you emphasize on, what can I say? You put a lot of resources on education to donors. A question. We are saying that we are supposed to recruit donors of age 16 and above. I don't know about the legal issues. We said that we have a place that there is a legal consent. We have to take this consent to the parents at home to sign for these kids who are below 18 years. But in our questionnaire, there is a place that the 18 years and above are supposed to give consent by themselves, as the law of Kenya says. So the 16 years, as much as they sign to donate blood, we don't have a legal framework on how we can defend ourselves in case of anything and the relatives have not consented. It is not really very clear how we can defend ourselves in case of anything that happens to this below 18, that is 16 and 17. So I kindly request that we have a really legal framework on the 16 and 17 years so that we can be able to defend ourselves. Thank you, and be blessed.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Ibrahim Mchelule. I'm National Youth Leaders, Supreme Council of Kenyan Muslims. I'm a sportsman. I play soccer. And also sometimes at home, I'm a gym instructor. And also I'm a Chelsea fan at my place. I'm also blue. So my question goes direct to my Manchester fan, a Red Devil fan. In our community, in my place, I come from Mumias in Western. We know kule nyumbani kwetu, most of our time, we are sportsmen and women. So we want to tap on in these sportsmen and women to become donors. And sometimes we normally have a healthy talk. After training, suwaga tunakuwa na ile healthy discussion. And as we know, sports normally have big fan base. So we can use this post to tap these people to be donors. Sindio? So my question is this: my Manchester fan, and also you are health practitioners. Sindio? Ningependa kuuliza, what is the importance of donating blood to these sportsmen and women, health-wise, so that we can, when we have a health discussion, we can sit with them and tell them the advantage of donating blood, so that they can come also on the board. So pia tusaidie ku donate blood to tufikishe hiyo target yetu, because at the end of the day we need blood. And when we see 2 or 3 people, I want to quote my Dr. Nduku. Vile sisi ukaa waga anatuambia, when she sees 2 or 3 people, she normally sees blood. So here we're a team of 20, 30, 40 people plus our fans. We want to use that channel tuongelesha watu tuone vile tunaweza pata damu kutoka kwao. So my question is that direct. I want to see the advantage of a sportsman donating blood. Shukran.
Thank you very much. I think we stop there because of time. Gilchrist, 1 minute or 30 seconds to respond to that.
Thank you very much. Ibrahim, your question is well received. It's an excellent question, hot on the heels on what our sister from Kisii actually mentioned. And she partially attempted to answer that question. There is a medical condition called polycythemia vera. That is when you have an HB of more than 16, 18 grams per deciliter. The viscosity of your blood becomes thick. It will not move easily through your blood vessels. And therefore, you get some small clots of blood everywhere within your tissue organs. So one of the ways of managing that is through consistent, regular blood donation through the interval that has already been provided. That is 3 or 4 months, depending on your sex. Second is the advantage of knowing your blood group. One of us, or earlier in the day, somebody asked, how many of you seated here know your blood group? That one is so important, especially on emergency situations. Anybody that donates blood is actually done what? They disclose the kind of blood group. You remember there is a small card that KNBTS issues. So that in itself shows you that. 3, it is also all the blood. You know, safety has never been so much of an issue of blood transfusion in Kenya. It is because a myriad of tests are performed on your blood. HIV, syphilis, hepatitis, cytomegalovirus, name them, a myriad of them. Later, and that is now where we are moving, there is a health talk and counseling sessions that are provided because, again, she mentioned, the key speaker, about the importance of safety. Not everybody will be a regular or routine donor. It will only be people who have safe blood that can be able to save others. Then there is a psychological well-being in ensuring that you had a moral obligation, you had a personal obligation, you had in English what is called altruism, that you managed to go and donate blood that potentially saved another life, that were it not for your blood, that life would have been lost. So that again becomes an advantage. And to the sitting here, did you know that with the potential of your 400 ml or 450 ml of blood, when we fractionate it, you will save as many people as possible. In terms of all blood, especially in a pediatric setup, up to 3 people can be saved by that one, pint of blood. And finally, there is also recognition, especially if you are a sports person, that comes with it. My club and consistent blood donors have also been recognized. So those are the advantages, among many others, that you can derive from blood donation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Daktari. I think our track has taken the longest time. Our colleagues have already finished, and I think they are waiting for us. So I want to stop because of time, but I'm told Aisha is requesting to say something, so 30 seconds. We recognize you for what you've done, so that is why we are actually giving you the chance. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Okay, I'm Aisha Dafala. I'm a Kenya Blood Ambassador, and I've started the blood drives. Like in Nairobi, I've been trying to have at least 3rd week of the month at the Kencom bus stage or Kenya National Archives blood drive. So talking about children, I've been seeing some mothers coming with their children, with a child, and the child is seeing the mother donating. So they are so much inquisitive. So what I've decided, and I'm planning, is to have a book cover. And I'll be giving out to children from class 4 upper with information about blood donation. So as they grow, they know the knowledge about donating, the importance of donating. So by he reaches 16, at least he has the knowledge a bit. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Aisha. I think that's a critical issue because as we were discussing from the start, the point is building a group of people who are donors and who will be willing to continue with that. So I want to sincerely appreciate all of us, and for just for a moment, I want us to appreciate all our presenters by giving them a hearty clap from our first presenter to the last. Number 2 is just in summary, I think we have learned that we have specific target groups that we can look at. We have low-hanging fruits, as our presenters have given us. That would be our targets, starting from the organized groups of the various regions, whether it is churches, whether it is sports clubs, Rotary groups, or the rest, so that we can see how best we can do that. Her Excellency also mentioned something a bit on data, I think, and also Jen. on what needs to be done, and we are happy that at least KNBTS has taken a step to actually have a system that will even notify you. So at least we are seeing that there's some progress that we are making in this. Also, one of us raised an issue on feasibility, ensuring that people know where they can donate or where all this is done. And I'm happy that some part of it has been responded by Jane as she was doing her presentation in terms of what can be seen even through the social media platforms. And then retention. For most of us who are health workers, when you hear retention, your mind goes to something else. Now finally we can look at it expanding more, that we are trying to even retain those who are donors and who will join us as we proceed. We have also seen the importance of us making use of social media as a way to reach out to more, to recruit and see how we can also be able to retain. Finally, I think what came up towards the end is messaging. How do we package our messages? How do we sensitize people? How do we make them understand the benefits? Because I think most of the time now we have been looking at we just need blood, but we've not given them the actual education on why they need to donate. So I think that's something that we're also taking up so that as we proceed, those are issues that we can follow up with. So before I call our speakers so that they can be awarded as a thank you for what they have been able to do, when our presenters were talking, I noted one comment that most of the times for ladies, they don't like it when we talk about their weights. Her Excellency today, for the first time, asked that if she had at least some more weight, she would have been able to donate blood. So at least there is some benefit to it. And then also, Gilchrist is complaining that he's a bit short. Maybe he's not among the athletes from his region. So at least as we sit here, we're seeing the diversity that we have. How can we tap into the diversity of our blessed country so that we can be able to do more? KNBTS has done a lot. We applaud them. The standards that were launched, the guidelines, are going to guide us so that whatever we do onwards is actually documented and scientific. So I want to request one of us, Wilson Olesaya from the Ministry of Defense, to please come forward and assist us in giving these awards. So we start with Thomas Obunde, who is not here. So I will request Magdalene to receive on his behalf. Where's Doreen? Please come so that you can assist us very fast. So Thomas did a very good presentation and he was our first speaker virtually. So I would request that Magdalene please to receive on his behalf.
Thank you very much.
Thomas, na uone sura ya mwenye amechukua zawadi yako, asipotee nayo.
Nimemwona.
Asante. Yes. So that is awarded to Thomas Obunde for his speech. Applause, please. Thank you very much. Our next is Her Excellency Caroline Wangamati from Bungoma, who has shown us the power of political goodwill and advocacy in terms of the success we intend to achieve. Applause for her. Thank you very much. Next is Dr. Gilchrist from Turkana, who has realized finally that Turkana is part of Kenya, the importance of this conference. Thank you very much. January Rimu, pledge 25. I think that is one of the key things that we've learned today. And as he says, Generation Z. Congratulations, Jen. Thank you very much. And we pray that you continue with that good job. Asante sana. Applause. Oh, apparently there's a gift for me, so I should not be the one saying, but now let me call myself. Thank you. assisting us in that session. So because of time, we are going to break and go straight for lunch so that we can come back for the closing session. Thank you very much for joining this track.
Recording stopped.
After this, we have a closing ceremony, so please, let's have our lunch very fast and get back here. We have officials from the ministry who will take us through the closing ceremony.